set within the Australian Catholic University now. It's university, it's a college life, it's communal life, it's prayer life. There's a discipline to it in terms of the prayer rhythm of the place. So you're not only going to Mass, you're experiencing the other liturgical practices of the church: morning prayer, evening prayer, night prayer. You discover the traditions of the church. That's the other thing about seminary. There are traditions that you see that are not academically taught, but they're things that you're shown and you experience. I think that there's still an emphasis on sport, on team sports and that sort of thing, and on fitness. One of the things I neglected when I was ordained after I left the seminary was my physical fitness. It's only now, later years, I've concentrated back on it again. But that's important, physical fitness. So it's a multifaceted life in the seminary, but it's also aimed at being very balanced. The emphasis also is that they don't hold your hand in the seminary. You've got to learn your own self-discipline in following that discipline, if that makes sense. Because ultimately, we're not ordained to live together. We'll probably end up living by ourselves.
So you mentioned, I guess that's sort of one of the challenging things that people might come across. Can you tell me some of the other challenges people might face
in the seminary? Yeah. Living together, putting up with each other, because we're all different. We all have idiosyncrasies. We all go through high and low times. We're all human beings, and we won't necessarily like everyone. Those sort of things. What you'd normally encounter in living together in a closely knit community. Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit. You were initially, what's the word? You were surprised by, I suppose, how rigorous the academic side of seminary was. Is that correct?
I wasn't surprised. I was daunted by it.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be rigorous from what I'd heard from other priests. Yeah.
Do you think that's something that other people might find? I guess for some people it might be a challenge.
Well, I think they need to be aware of it. That there is an academic program. That's very important for them to be. In fact, it's a major part of it. Part of the call to priesthood is to use your brains and to depth and study scripture, theology, philosophy. How do we think? And not just to look at religious things, to look at the world. What's the world thinking? There's an old saying from the university I studied at in London. Think a thing that is think what's happening in the world before it thinks you, before you get shaped by it. Discern. That's part of your discernment. So yeah, I think it's not a holiday camp. You're expected to work and work hard.
Excellent. What are some of the blessings of being part of seminary?
You meet and make great friends. There's a camaraderie, and there's a sense that you're all in it together. Yeah, and you help one another. There's that sense. You help the bloke you don't like, even. That's an important part of seminary. Yeah, and and part of that is also self-discovery in the seminary environment. There's a real opportunity to discover your own self. What are your shadows? What are your strengths? What do I need to work on? Because you're given constant feedback. That's pretty tough part of seminary. You're being critiqued. Your formators, lay and ordained, are constantly giving you feedback. Yeah. And you mightn't appreciate it all the time, being told that you need to improve in this area.
What are some of the things that you treasure about seminary, yourself personally?
That I treasured about the seminary? The camaraderie aspect, the liturgies, The liturgies in the seminary are, par excellence, or they aim to be. But that can be a bit of a trap, because when you come back into the real world, they may not have the resources or be at the same understanding or have the same time to put into liturgy. Liturgy is important in a parish, but in a seminary, it's part of your life. In a parish, it's part of the life of a person for a Sunday. That's Pat. He wants to get on with it.
See our next one.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No problem. I guess we're on to our last couple of questions.
Yeah.
So the next one is, why celibacy?
Celibacy, as I said before, is something that you discern. It's part of priesthood at the moment. Better go and explain. He doesn't know what's going on.
That's fair. We'll wait for the ideas.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about
Celibacy. How could I forget? I think if you look on celibacy as a burden or a sentence, that's the wrong attitude. It's got to be a part of your life. Yes, you would like to fall in love, and you probably will fall in love, and have a family and all that sort of thing. But celibacy is about being more freer to exercise a particular service and ministry in the church. That's the tradition of it. Okay? It may not be accepted by the world, and I don't think it ever was accepted by the world, and it doesn't have to be. But it is part of our tradition of priesthood at the moment. And so it's something that you need to utilise, not be burdened by. That's my celibacy also frees you up to interact with people too, in a way that perhaps married people can't. That's not saying it's better than marriage. It's not. And there are married clergy in our church. But it does give you a degree of freedom and mobility. Yeah.
I think you've gone through some of these points before, but maybe we'll get you to kind of go over them again. But our last kind of question is, do you have any advice for those that are considering priesthood? Even if you are going over some of those points you mentioned before, because you have kind of covered that.
Use others to discern it. Don't be frightened to explore the question. Don't be frightened to ask a priest or the bishop. Have a discussion with them. Ask your best friend. Ask someone who might not be your best friend. Yeah. I think you've got to apply reality to it, and know what you're getting into. Make sure you know what the seminary's about, what discernment's about, and that it's a two-way discernment. It's not just one way. It's not just you. You're being looked at.
Full name, Patrick Bernard McKenna.
And what do you do?
What do I do? I'm a retired parish priest for the Diocese of Cairns, and I've been a priest for this diocese for 62 years.
It's a very long time. All right, so 62 years ago, what made you, where were you, and when did you consider becoming a priest?
Oh, well, let's go back. I spent most of my education in Gympie at Christian Brothers. I was an altar boy, but I had no idea, no thought of going in the priesthood. Suddenly when I went to Maryborough in the Commonwealth Bank in 1946, and then 1947, one of the young fellow that I knew, railway clerk, he decided he might have a vocation to the Franciscans. And I thought that was a bit unusual, So it got me thinking, but then I was at the boarding house where I was. There were two former Air Force pilots, One, his name was Roy Layfield, flew spit